before you listen to this, I want you to do one thing. Look at your walls, your vents, the crawl space, the basement door, because after hearing what happened to me that night, you'll never trust the inside of your house ever again. I used to think locked doors meant I was safe, but in the United States, in an average suburban home, I learned something terrifying. Sometimes the danger doesn't break into your house. Sometimes it's already living inside your walls. I was 19, living in a small town in Colorado when this happened. It was the winter break from college. My parents drove to Denver for a long weekend, and I stayed home alone to focus on my remote job. Our house was a typical American single-story home, a small living room, 2 bedrooms, a narrow kitchen, and a crawl space hatch no one ever used. Nothing about that house ever felt creepy until the first night alone. It was 1:43 a.m. I was on my laptop in bed, half watching YouTube, when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Very soft. Inside the wall right behind my headboard. I paused the video. The house was silent. I leaned closer to the wall. Nothing. I told myself it was the heating system or wood expanding. Normal stuff in American houses during winter. But then it came again. Louder. Tap, tap, tap. Not random, not natural. Rhythmic, like someone intentionally knocking from inside the drywall. My heart tightened, but eventually the sound stopped, and I went to sleep thinking it was nothing. I was wrong. The next night around midnight, I turned off the lights and got in bed. 5 minutes later, shwerp, 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 a long scraping sound inside the wall, behind my bed. This wasn't pipes. This wasn't wood shifting. It sounded like metal dragging against the inside of the drywall. There's no attic above that wall, no open space inside it, but the scraping continued, slow, steady, deliberate. I pulled my bed 2 feet away from the wall that night. I should have slept in the living room. The third evening was when everything changed. I was in the kitchen making mac and cheese. The only sound was the microwave and the wind outside. Then from the hallway, I heard it. Breathing. Human breathing. Slow. Measured. Trying not to be heard. I froze. The breathing stopped. Then from behind the crawl space door in the hallway, a loud exhale. Like someone annoyed they made a noise. My skin crawled. I backed away slowly and locked myself in my room. I told myself I was paranoid, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. Around 2:20 a.m., as I sat awake in bed, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Why did you move your bed? A cold wave ran through my body. I stared at the message, terrified. Before I could react, another text came. It was easier to watch you sleep when it was closer to the wall. My heartbeat drowned out everything. Someone wasn't trying to break into the house. They were already inside. I packed my bag and quietly opened my bedroom door. The hallway was dark, and on the hardwood floor, I saw them. Wet footprints, barefoot, adult-sized. They led from the crawl space door, down the hallway, and stopped right outside my bedroom door, as if someone had stood there listening to me before I opened the door. My stomach dropped. I stepped backward, but before I got to my room, I heard a sound, a footstep, from the living room, then another, slow, heavy footsteps. Someone was walking toward me in the dark. I backed into my room and pressed my ear to the door. The footsteps stopped, right outside my door. Then a deep male voice whispered, my name. Not supernatural, not a hallucination, a real person inside my house. At 3:07 a.m. I heard the sound that haunts me to this day.
Critique.
The crawl space door hinged slowly opening, the same door I heard breathing behind. I grabbed a metal water bottle as a weapon and backed away. Then I saw movement under the small gap beneath my bedroom door. A shadow, tall, human, standing still, watching. The doorknob started turning, slowly, carefully, deliberately. I panicked and ran to the window, unlocked it, pushed it open, and climbed out barefoot onto the freezing backyard grass. As soon as I got outside, thud, thud, someone slammed against my bedroom door from the inside. I sprinted to my neighbor's porch and banged on the door until they woke up and called. When the police arrived and searched the house, they found the crawlspace door wide open. Inside the crawlspace, behind old boxes and insulation, they found a dirty mattress, half-eaten food, empty water bottles, a backpack, a phone charger plugged into an outlet. Someone had been living in our crawl space for days, possibly weeks, watching me through tiny cutout gaps in the drywall near my bedroom, listening to me while I slept. They believed the man entered the house through a loose exterior vent behind the house, something we never noticed. But the worst part, police found prints inside the walls of my bedroom. He had been crawling in the wall cavities, right behind my bed. 1 hour after the man was arrested, my phone buzzed. A final text. If you hadn't climbed out the window, I would have come inside your room. I moved out within a week, because now I know. In American houses, the walls are hollow, the crawl spaces are big, the vents are accessible, and sometimes people use them. Before you hear this, I need you to do one thing. Open the camera app on your phone. Scroll to the camera you never check, the basement one, the attic one, the one pointing at nothing, because that's exactly what I did. And what I saw in the basement of my suburban American home still keeps me awake. No ghosts, no demons, just a man, a real man, living in our house without us knowing. I was 22 when this happened. I lived with my parents in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio, cul-de-sacs, trimmed lawns, kids riding bikes, nothing dangerous. My parents were gone for 3 days to visit family in Florida, leaving me alone with our German Shepherd, Max. My dad had installed a full home security system, front door camera, backyard camera, garage camera, and one down in the basement. We never checked the basement feed. Nobody ever goes down there except for storage. But on the first night alone, I got a notification that changed everything. It was 10:47 p.m. I was eating pizza, watching Netflix when my phone buzzed. Ring camera alert, motion detected basement. I frowned. Motion? In the basement? Nobody had been down there in weeks. I opened the live feed. The video loaded. The basement lights were off, but nothing moved. Just stacked boxes, old furniture, and darkness. I sighed, probably a glitch. But in the back of my mind, something felt off. 'Cause those cameras don't send alerts unless something moves. I shrugged it off. I shouldn't have. The second alert, things are moving. At 11:42 p.m., another alert. Motion detected basement. My heartbeat picked up. I opened the feed. Still nothing, but something was different. The stack of boxes in the corner, one of them had shifted, not fallen, shifted, like it had been pushed from behind. I stared for a long time. Max suddenly got up from his bed and walked toward the basement door, ears raised. I forced a laugh. It's just that HVAC system, boy. But I didn't believe it. At 1:13 a.m., another alert came. This time, as soon as the video loaded, I heard it. Breathing. Not wind. Not pipes. Not static. Slow, heavy, human breathing. Someone in the basement was close enough to the camera to breathe into the mic. I muted my phone instantly. Max started growling, staring at the basement door. I felt paralyzed. Someone was down there. Someone who shouldn't be. The next morning, Max refused to go near the basement door. Every time I walked past it, he growled. He'd never done that before. At noon, I casually mentioned the camera alerts to my parents. Dad said, "It's probably the air system. Check the basement, just to be sure." No way in hell was I going down there. I ignored the suggestion. That night, I regretted it. At 9:58 p.m., while eating dinner, another notification buzzed. Basement camera, motion detected. I swallowed hard, opened the live feed. This time, something moved. At the far corner of the screen, I saw a shadow. Tall, human-shaped, not shifting like a shadow from lights, but standing there, completely still, facing the camera. I leaned closer. The longer I stared, the clearer he became. A man, standing motionless in the dark, watching the camera. My fork dropped from my hand. Max barked wildly at the basement door. I slammed the app shut, heart pounding. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text. From an unknown number. "Don't go downstairs." I felt like ice was poured into my veins. How did he get my number? Was he inside the house? Was he watching me right now? I covered the camera on my phone with my thumb. My entire body shook. This wasn't a glitch. Someone was in our basement. At 10:21 p.m., the lights flickered, and everything went pitch black. The house fell silent, except for one sound. Footsteps coming up the basement stairs. Heavy, slow, deliberate. I grabbed Max, ran upstairs to my room, and locked the door. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold my phone. I dialed 911. "There's someone inside my house," I whispered. The operator stayed on the line. And then, boom! The basement door slammed open so hard the sound echoed through the entire house. Footsteps crossed the living room. Closer, closer. Max barked like he'd never barked before, a deep, defensive bark. The footsteps stopped right at the foot of the stairs. I heard breathing, heavy, exhausted, angry breathing. Then a step onto the stairs. Then another. He was coming up. The moment the intruder reached the top stair, Max launched himself at the door with a roar. The sounds that followed were a nightmare. Dog snarling, man grunting, furniture hitting the ground, a struggle, Max squealing. I froze in place. Couldn't move, couldn't scream. After 15 seconds of chaos, everything went silent. Then, footsteps again. Slow, coming toward my room. The doorknob began to twist. Suddenly, sirens, bright blue and red lights flashed through my bedroom window. The intruder's footsteps retreated fast, running, stumbling. A door slammed. Police stormed into the house seconds later. I opened my door, shaking, tears running down my face. 3 officers sprinted past me. And what they found downstairs still makes my stomach twist. The intruder was found unconscious near the kitchen. Max had bitten him badly. But in the basement, they found a dirty sleeping bag, water bottles, protein bars, a backpack, a phone charger plugged into our outlet. He had been living in our basement for weeks. Police said he entered through the backyard window, a small sliding window we always forgot to lock. But there was more. On the wall behind the boxes, they found a list written with a black marker. My name, my parents' names, our daily schedules, the layout of the house, my room location, and the words, "He sleeps with his door unlocked." My skin crawled. He had been watching us for a long time. When they lifted the boxes, they found small holes drilled into the ceiling, directly beneath the kitchen floor. He had been listening to everything: footsteps, conversations, what time we slept, what time we left the house. Watching, waiting. As they carried him out on a stretcher, I finally saw the intruder's face. He wasn't a stranger. He was the previous HVAC technician who had serviced our house 3 months earlier. The last thing he said before the ambulance took him away, he looked at me and whispered, "You should have checked the basement sooner. We moved out of that house." Max recovered, but I still check every camera every night. Because real horror isn't supernatural. It's knowing someone can live underneath your house, and you won't know until it's too late. If you've ever lived in a house with a basement, you know there's something unsettling about it. It's always colder than the rest of the house, always darker, always quiet in a way the upstairs never is. But the thing they never tell you is, sometimes being home alone isn't scary because of what's outside. It's scary because of what's already inside. And I learned that the hard way, on a night I was supposed to feel the safest. My name is Lena, and when this happened I was 17. We lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Toledo, Ohio, not the kind of place where people double check their locks at night. We had a normal 2-story house, the type with a fully finished basement that my dad turned into a small home gym. The kind of house where nothing bad was supposed to happen. My parents were out for the weekend celebrating their anniversary. My older brother was at a college football game in Ann Arbor and wouldn't be home until the next afternoon. So, for the first time ever, I had the entire house completely to myself. At first it felt great. I made popcorn, put on a Netflix show, and walked around like I owned the place. But the first strange thing happened around 9:40 p.m. I was in the kitchen refilling my bowl when I heard it. A soft, slow thud from the basement. I froze. Not a creak. Not the furnace. Not pipes expanding. A thud. Like a footstep. I tried to laugh it off. Old houses make sounds, right? Especially basements. I forced myself to walk back into the living room and pretended everything was normal. But 10 minutes later, I heard it again. This time it wasn't subtle. It was heavier, like somebody shifting their weight. I muted the TV. Silence. Then, another thud. I stood up and looked toward the basement door across the hallway. It was closed, but a soft glow spilled from the gap under the door. The light was on. I never turned it on. A cold shiver curled down my spine. Dad always kept the basement lights off. The switch was at the bottom of the stairs, which meant someone was down there. I grabbed my phone, ready to call 911, but a stupid thought held me back. What if I'm overreacting? What if it's the water heater or a falling box or something normal? I wanted so badly for it to be normal. So instead of calling the police, I called my dad. He didn't pick up. I called him again. Nothing. I messaged my brother. He replied almost instantly. VRO. Probably the house settling. Don't freak yourself out. I wanted to believe that. I turned the TV back on and tried to distract myself. But at 10:12 p.m., the sound came again. Not a thud this time. A slow dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across the basement floor. My blood ran cold. I stood up, heart hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. I stepped closer to the basement door, not sure if I wanted to listen or run. The sound stopped. Dead silence. I waited. Nothing. I waited. Nothing. Maybe, just maybe, it really was the furnace or something shifting. I leaned closer to the door, and then, knock. From the other side of the door, I stumbled backwards so hard I hit the wall. Someone was down there. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking hands. The operator picked up. 911. What's your emergency? Someone is in my basement. Please send someone. Are you in a safe location? Before I could answer, I heard it again. A soft, almost patient knock, as if whoever was behind the door knew exactly what I was doing. I backed into the living room and crouched behind the couch, my chest tightening. The operator stayed on the line. Officers are on the way. Do not approach the basement. Stay on the line with me. For a moment, everything felt still. Too still. Then the doorknob rattled, gently at first, then harder. Then it stopped again. The operator whispered, "Stay where you are. Don't make noise." But I could hear footsteps now. Slow, measured, coming up the stairs. One step, another, a third. Then the door handle turned. Once, twice. Then slowly, the door began to open. Just a crack. Everything in me screamed to run, but I stayed frozen. The door opened an inch more, then stopped. Silence. I didn't dare breathe. I waited for a face to appear. Something. But the crack stayed empty. After what felt like a full minute, the door closed again. Softly, almost politely, the footsteps went back down the stairs. The operator said, "Stay hidden. Officers are almost at your street." I stayed crouched, shaken so badly I thought my teeth would rattle. Then suddenly, bang, a heavy slam from the basement, followed by frantic, violent pounding. Someone was slamming against the basement door now. Hard, repeatedly. The entire house seemed to shake with each hit. I curled into myself, covering my ears, tears streaming down my face. The operator shouted through the phone, "Police have arrived at your house. Stay down, they're coming in." I heard the front door burst open, officers yelling, boots thundering across the wooden floor. More shouting, "Toledo police. Come out with your hands up. Clear the main floor. Move to the basement door." Then everything stopped. No sounds from the basement. No slamming. No pounding. Just dead, suffocating silence. I waited, heart in my throat. Then an officer called out, "We've got him." Here's the part that still haunts me. The intruder wasn't some random burglar. He was a homeless man, mid-30s, who had been breaking into suburban homes by slipping through basement windows during cold nights. But here's the worst part. When they arrested him, he told the police, "I wasn't trying to hurt the girl. I've been living in that basement for almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks. While I was sleeping upstairs, eating breakfast in the kitchen, doing homework at the dining table. He was directly below me, living under my feet, listening to my footsteps, watching the light patterns through the vents. We had full security footage. The camera in the backyard caught him slipping into the basement window one evening when no one was home. He had been coming and going quietly every night. He stole some food from the pantry, drank bottled water, slept behind my dad's treadmill where the camera couldn't see him. He only started making noise that night because the officers found his makeshift bedding, blankets, a duffel bag, half-eaten snacks. But the detail that still keeps me awake is this. On a small folded note next to his bedding, in small shaky handwriting, they found one sentence. "Thank you for letting me stay. I never spent another night alone in that house again." My parents installed reinforced locks, motion sensors, cameras, everything. But none of it changed the truth. We always fear what's outside the house. But sometimes, the real danger is already inside, quietly living in the shadows, waiting for the moment you finally hear it. You've already stepped too far into the dark. Subscribe, and let the shadows whisper their next truth directly into your ear.